In this lesson, we're going to re-examine Notan. If you remember correctly, we had Notan in 2 values for drawing 1, and in drawing 2, we're going to use Notan in 3 values. Notan was introduced to the United States by a man named Fenollosa from the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. And Arthur Wesley Dow came under his influence as a student in Boston. And he wrote a book called Composition, where he really examines Notan and Notan as an influence on his own work, his own painting, oil painting, and printmaking. And in his book on composition, he also has a section on a 3-value Notan, and that's what we're going to explore. Now in drawing 1, we did a 2-value Notan, and we used one of Dow's landscapes, and we created 2 versions of a landscape design. In drawing 2, we're going to use Dow's apple design, okay? And we're going to render it in 3 values, okay? So the first thing I want to talk about is how you're going to transfer this design, okay? So on the blog website, there's a PDF file it says Dow Apple Design, and this is it, okay? So when you go to print it out, you're going to download it, and then when you print, you're going to choose a landscape orientation. Don't choose portrait, choose landscape because it'll appear larger on your piece of paper, and this is the exact size that I wanted, okay? Then you're going to go through the process of tracing it. Here you can see my tracing. I overlaid it, I traced it. I flipped it over. I traced the back of it to create a carbon. And then I flipped it over again and placed it on a piece of paper to transfer it like this. You can also, if you do not have tracing paper, you can also take this white piece of paper and place it with this PDF against a window, okay? So you're going to put this against the glass of the window in the correct orientation, and then your piece of paper over it, okay? And against the window, I can see directly through my white piece of paper and trace it. Now remember, when we trace these designs, you're going to have to trace on each side of the dark line, okay? Because you may want that line to be white against a dark background. So you need to trace both the outside of that line and the inside of that line, okay? Now, in this version of our Notan, we're going to do 3 values, okay? I have some examples on the website which you can look at. All right. I also have an example here. In this rendering, this is a Dow Notan, he adds that 3rd value in parallel lines to create this tone in the sky and its reflection in the water. Then he has the black in the design and in these far trees and the grass shapes and along the edge of the pond here. And then the rest is white. It also has a black border, okay? But because these parallel lines are close together, they give us like a veil of another value. It's not quite black and it's not white. It ends up being the 3rd value. So when we go to work on our 3rd value here, you're going to use your micron 0.05, and I would like you to use parallel diagonal lines. And you're going to make a decision about how close you want those lines. If the closer the lines are, the slightly darker the value. The slightly further away they are, the lighter the value, okay? Now, we could use something else rather than the parallel diagonal line. Because if you know digital photography actually reproduces with dots. So we could, in a sense, use some kind of uniform pattern like dots to create that third value also. We would have to keep them relatively close. We could also use a pattern like little moons and again create that third value. Any kind of unified calligraphy will create that third value. But in this case, I want you to use parallel diagonal lines for value 3. And for your blacks, I'd like you to use a Sharpie marker or something like that. It could be a Pilot marker, but something with a wider tip that you have at your house right now. If you have a younger sibling, even Crayola black markers are fine, okay? And you're going to apply those also in parallel diagonal lines, because if you look at any kind of rendering in marker, you can actually see the way you've laid that marker down. So make sure everything is moving in the same direction to give a unified tone, even if that tone is black, okay? And so this week, work on transferring your drawing and begin to map out the design that you're going to use. And you can do the map out on the tracing paper to help you. But plan ahead, because once it's laid in marker, it's obviously permanent, all right? And next time we'll talk about the third value.